All right, and welcome to the East County Sports Report. I'm Ramon Scott. I'm joined by Dave Dickens of EastCountySports.com. Dave, thanks for getting the show together for us. We're trying to stay busy, trying to stay active in our prep community, and we got Coach KELLAN COBBS of the Granite Hills Eagles. We're going to try to talk some football schedule. And Dave, one of our longtime sponsors, maybe our longest sponsor of EastCountySports.com, proprietor of Al's Sports Shop, Rob Treadwell, also will be talking with us. Dave, thank you so much, man, for getting a show together. I'm getting lonely out here in East County.
Absolutely. I mean, I figure if we can't actually attend a live game, at least we can speculate a bit and be hopeful and talk positive about it, and maybe we'll get a little closer. I mean, whatever route we got to take, I think everybody's open to suggestions, I'm sure, right, Kellen?
Yeah. Talk some sports. I'm just glad stuff's on TV. Finally, we can start doing something.
Yeah, I mean, especially as we mentioned before we went live. I mean, just locally and professionally, finally to see our San Diego Padres making some noise, and especially making it in LA and possibly taking out some brooms.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I've been tuning into way more baseball than I normally get to, so I think I haven't missed maybe more than one or two of the games so far. So have it on right now. They just scored a couple cheap runs, but hopefully we can get some back right here.
Especially in the middle of August, Kellen.
Yeah, right.
You're not seeing any baseball games. Maybe you're catching a highlight on the PPR or something, or the KUSI while you're waiting for the prep stuff. And Rob probably having a run out at Al's of Tatis jerseys. Everybody wants probably Tatis put on the back of their jerseys these days.
Yeah, he's absolutely amazing. Yeah, absolutely. He's brought a new enthusiasm to this town that we haven't seen in a while.
Hey, Dave, we got a superstar in this town to keep us preoccupied, but we're going to grill Kellen a little bit on the schedule that came out this week. What else is on your mind this week, Dave, before we get into that?
Really, I mean, just that. I mean, the great way to start a 60-game season for the Padres, and then what you mentioned to me, which we're going to get into with Kellen here shortly, is definitely the facing of two of the better teams that we've seen in the East County year in, year out, at least for the last 3 years. Last two in particular have come down to the wire. I'm sure Coach Cobbs and Coach Longerbone have been biting their nails every time they face each other. I'm sure even in practice. But with that being said, Kellen, how did you guys work that out and decide which months we were going to start, which home games we were going to play against each other, and playing each other twice this season?
Yeah, Kellen, we play 2 out of 3 games against each other, but it's almost in the span of a month. Tell us those dates, and I think that's kind of the highlight of the East County schedule. You guys pulled something off kind of special.
Yeah, I mean, we both had some problems getting that last game filled. I had a team originally from Arizona that was coming in, Desert Vista, a really good football program out there. They were supposed to come out and play us, and obviously with everything that happened with our schedule, that became an open date for us. And then, Scott was in an honorable game that got canceled, and the team that they were supposed to play, I think from Bakersfield, kind of fell through. And then, they cut the bye week out, and we just basically said, hey, let's just play twice this year. It is what it is. We've all looked for games, and Scott being a charter school, a lot of guys don't want to play them, and then for us, a lot of the teams weren't, fitting our schedule, didn't want to play. So we just said, hey, let's just play twice. Let's do a home and home type series. And if you haven't been to a Steel Canyon Granite Hills football game, it's 7 of the last 8 times we've played have basically come down to the last possession of the game. So it's always fun. I know Rob does both of our spirit wear and all of our gear, so maybe we can come up with some sort of some sort of shirt or something. I don't know. Come make it a little special for both those games. But
This rivalry needs a name, Dave. I bet you can come up with one. Dave, I don't know if it's the second game has been even more exciting than the first, or is it just because the first game was so exciting and these teams have played a couple of times recently in the same season? They've ended up in like a rematch situation. Dave, it's probably been your favorite series since we've been working closely together on East County Sports these few years.
I would say absolutely. Just as Coach had mentioned, I mean, just coming down to the wire, and who would have thought? I mean, just a couple years ago that it was going to end up like that, coming down to the wire, and on both fields too. Granite played some great games over at Steel Canyon, and then they come in and they steal one, but the prior year, last tick of the game, and one of our veterans from a couple years ago, one of our favorites too, of course, being in Mr. Burton. That one was really special, and talk about going down into. I mean, I think there's got to be. Is there any records that were achieved in any of those games, Coach? There had to have been.
I don't know, man. I've lost track on some of them. There's been so many. I mean, last second, where we score. Even last year, where we were down 6 and driving, and they scored and ran a fumble back for a touchdown. I mean, just every game that's been played, there's been a bunch of key moments and really good football. And both of our styles know each other really well, so it makes for fun trying to figure out some different wrinkles for each week. And my original guy that started with me as my offense coordinators over there, calling plays for them now, Mitch Burton. So it's just a bunch of close ties, and Scott's a good guy, really good coach. His defense does a great job. Every year, offense is always well coached, and it's just a fun football playing against those guys.
Coach,
And
I want to ask Dave real quick, Coach, which game is the league game?
So the one that's at Steel Canyon will go on our league record. The first game is just an extra contest, basically. It's considered a non-league game.
The first game is non-league. The second game is the league game.
Correct.
Okay, that's interesting, Dave.
And I believe it's March is the one that counts on our league record. The one in February, I think it's the 19th, off the top of my head, is the one that does not count. It counts for playoffs and seeding and all the Division I stuff, but does not go towards our overall league record.
It's all getting pretty interesting with all this crazy stuff, Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not to mention, Coach, you and Coach Scott Longerbone are also. You guys are good friends off the field too. I mean, as you mentioned. We even have. I know that he has a favorite establishment that he likes to attend, and whether or not who wins that game, but you guys, you always get the invite, I'm sure.
Yeah. One of his defense coordinators works at that establishment, so we tend to hang out there. After almost every Friday, we usually end up over there together and hanging out. And some guys from Mount Miguel come by too and heal it. So. Just all East County coaches kind of get together, and it's a good spot to kind of meet over there.
So what do you think the little bit of actual action that you've seen and from your guys talking about the kids that you have currently, would you assess what little you have seen so far?
A lot coming back up front on the offensive line for us, which is good. I mean, that's obviously a huge part of football. So, having those guys back is going to be key for us. Quarterback's back. He had a really good year. All of our receivers pretty much graduated. So those are going to be key guys to get coached up over the summer. Matt Keeley's back. He had a really good year for us last year. I think he's a Division I football player. We're going to move him down to our Eagle backer position. So I expect a lot out of him, from both sides of the ball. Zach Burton, is going to be really coming into his own this year as a junior. He's filled up. I think will be a force on the defensive line. So we have a lot of pieces back. A lot of our defensive backs are back. Both starting corners pretty much are back. some youth in the secondary at safety, but a lot of really good football players there that I feel like could fill in. And we're just going to do the best we can with this extra time to try and prepare them. Right now we're not doing a whole lot. We're pretty limited with what we can do, but just trying to take advantage of what little things we can do right now and try and get those guys better and keep them in shape and keep them around football.
I mean, you're known for the last several years, Coach, as really being a defensive guru, if you will, and being known. The Eagles have been known for their defense for the last at least 3 years, in particular, and being pretty big up front. What are we looking at? Are we looking at something similar to that?
More of the same. When I took over, the number one thing we talked about was always playing good defense and being able to run the football. I think if you can do that against anybody, you can stay in games, even if they're more talented than you. Especially on our side of the league, we got Hewitt, Steele, Grossmont. They've always got some really, really athletic kids. We'll always have a lot of really good skill guys. So the one way that we can kind of try and hang in there with a lot of those teams is be physical up front on both sides of the ball and just try and play physical defense. Try and create some turnovers and then be able to run the football and shorten the game.
It's going to be interesting, Dave.
Pretty well last year at times, and that opened us up a little bit more than we had been in the past. But we have a pretty special running back coming back, Jaquil Hodges, who was only a sophomore last year. I expect a lot of big things out of him against, with a really big front up at the offensive line for us. So I think we'll be able to run the ball and do some things.
Just interesting, Dave. Depending on who's playing come next year, because we know that some players may not play, you look at the quarterback that Granite Hills has, and it'd be hard-pressed to find, at least in the league, a more experienced quarterback. So that'll be interesting too, Dave.
Oh, yeah, I think just from what I saw from Justice, last year, how quickly he got adjusted to your offensive scheme. And really, it almost looked like he was pretty good. He was even comfortable. If he had to audibilize back there, he was real comfortable. Correct me if I'm wrong, got a strong arm downfield, had some great reads, and pretty good with his legs. Once again, you have that, and you've had that for a couple years now.
Yeah, that's one of the things I talk to my quarterbacks about as soon as they come in as a freshman. For us, we see a lot of man coverage, so that guy's got to be able to run the football to kind of even up the numbers for us. You can't be a kid that's back there just afraid and just standing back there as a statue throwing the ball around. For us, he's got to be a guy that's physical, tough, will run with the football, and he's got to be smart. So Justice fits all those check marks. He's got a few schools looking at him right now. He's got a couple offers from some FCS schools, some Division I schools. So he's obviously got a lot of talent. He's a good player, good person, good leader. So hopefully we'll get those receivers up to speed and he'll be able to keep doing what he was doing last year and just keep building on that.
Coach, some other highlights of this schedule. Maybe you can just fill us in on some of the maneuvering that you had to do. You'd played Poway a couple of times recently, but had to, I believe, drop them just because of the logistics of what's happening, right? But did you add Lincoln?
Yeah, so at one point we had Lincoln, Oceanside, and Helix, and I don't know, I really wanted to schedule the really good teams in green, I guess, but Oceanside ended up double booking us with a league game, and we kind of messed up the schedule a little bit on that. So they were already scheduled to play San Marcos, which they couldn't get out of, obviously, because it's a avocado game for them. So ended up not being able to schedule them, but we did put Lincoln on for 2-12.
Played them in the playoffs, I remember. Our guys were certainly disappointed.
Yeah. 2 years ago in the playoffs, yeah, we played them. They're really talented football team always. So they've got guys coming in from everywhere, and they're super, super athletic. And 2 years ago when we played them, we turned the ball over late. They had 2 kickoffs that they brought back to inside the 5 and scored on both of those opportunities. And there was a couple plays in that game. I think if we could have got it back, it would have been anybody's game. But they're always well coached. Coach Dunn does a great job for those guys. So it's a good opponent for us to get ready for our league play and see where we're at. I just look at it. Hey, we're in the playoffs right now. Let's see what we can do. In my opinion, I think they're going to they have the potential to be an open division team. So see how we can handle those guys and hang with them.
And his opening night is at Valhalla at Granite.
Correct.
So that's good. That's fun, Dave, because some other teams might be playing some non-league games, some out-of-town teams or big teams. You look at that game, you're looking for a big East County game to open the season. I think that right now, I don't think it's all set yet. Maybe I haven't seen it all yet, but Valhalla and Granite Hills. Granite Hills will be favoring that game, but that's a good East County game to kick things off when we get back to football.
Yeah.
Well, what I was going to say, it almost seems that Coach Cobbs took a page maybe out of Coach Hamamoto's playbook as far as scheduling, and he did something similar, as you recall. He started off with Lincoln, and he played some of those tough non-league teams. Came around to league, and guess what? He second half of the season, he got a division crown. So sounds like a good formula to me, Coach. For sure. I mean, you play against those elite teams. That's definitely going to prep you for the Helixes and teams like that you have to play in league. Wouldn't you say?
And the Monarchs too. Don't we play the Monarchs now?
Yeah, we still got. We were supposed to play Oceanside. We ended up picking up Monte Vista. So
yes.
They had a team drop on them, I guess, or they had that bye week, and it just kind of worked out on our schedule. And Ron wanted to pick up another team to replace Helix, to replace Lincoln, because they got dropped off their schedule. So
that sounds great. That sounds great. Rob, we're getting you fired up for prep football. I know it's August, man. We're trying to got to get excited, Rob, hearing some of these matchups.
It's so awesome just to be talking sports and to be thinking about all those young people getting back on the field and having opportunities again, and hearing about FBS schools looking at our local young people. Those kinds of things are important because that's who's losing right now with everything that's going on. I can't imagine. Coach Cobbs and I have known each other for a long time, and I can't imagine what it's like this week trying to get back to school and get kids back in the classroom virtually, and they've been turned upside down, and then to add to that the sports programs that have been put on hold and all the uncertainty right now. I mean, just keeping those kids up and getting them ready is my hat's off to you, Coach.
This would be the high point of the summer right now, Dave. I think we'd all be in full steam ahead football mode. It must just be killing us, but I mean, for these guys, man, must really. It's just they probably having trouble just finding yourself a little bit.
Well, I that's one of the things I mentioned to Kellen. I think it was in text. By now, I miss just us going out to the camps. Where they don't even have jerseys on yet, and they're fresh. They got fresh legs, fresh arms, and they're just getting used to their plays and learning the playbook. That's something that I think we really miss. That was, to me, that was the heart of our season. Getting to meet the new kids and doing the individual interviews before they even took a snap. I mean, those are huge, and to not have already done that, we would have completed that, and we would have already assessed our league teams at this point, and that leads me to, Coach, how is it working? I know it's been even an adjustment for my sophomore from West Hills, my son, and the adjustment to this distance learning, and now they have to be a little more accountable, as last year it was kind of a we'll just kind of pass it through because no one was prepared for it. I mean, let's just face it, that was the whole reason behind it. Now we have a curriculum. We've had a little time to tweak it and put together a better system and hold them accountable. So, what are your thoughts? Do you see it's going to be tough to get them focused and on task, or that's a tall order, really.
Yeah, I think last time we knew the kids. You know what I mean? We had them for a semester and a half before they went out. And now it's like we're trying to meet. Brand new for me, I've got 3 sections of freshman PE And so just trying to get to know these kids, it's not, it's just not the same. I'm hoping we can get back on campus as soon as we can. Even if it's one day a week, and just so we can kind of build a relationship, and those kids can get out, get outside and get back into the groove of things. Because, the distance learning, I think people are going to do the best they can, but every kid is in a different situation. I know a lot of parents are now this time around back to work full time, where last time they were at home and able to help maybe little brothers and little sisters, but a lot of it's fallen on a lot of our high school kids at this point. Like, hey, they got to help their little brothers and sisters coming up with their Zoom meetings and trying to put them through school. So it's definitely a challenge, and I feel for the kids that are coming into high school or going into their senior year, and they're having to do it kind of remotely, and they don't necessarily get that same experience of coming onto campus and feeling that excitement as incoming freshmen, and being the big guy on campus as a senior. So hopefully we'll be able to get back on campus soon and get off that watch list or whatever we got to do to get back. So.
Yes, I mean, and I think socially, I think that's one of the bigger things that's being missed. Also, is, I mean, whether the kids will admit it or not, I don't want to go back to school. That's it. But really, those social interactions with fellow students and kids, especially seniors, that they've grown up on campus since freshmen together. I mean, I went to Granite Hills myself. I mean, and I can't even fathom something like this after going to school like we did so many years ago, and the way that we were able to flourish. I mean, this is a really tough pill to swallow. I mean, a real tough test for these kids. And not to mention, like I mentioned in previous shows, and this goes for the junior college kids as well, they can't get on that field. They can't get scouted. They can't get those scholarships. And not just for athletically, I want to reiterate that again, but also for, a degree. A lot of these parents that have been out of work, maybe they're going back to work, but they might have lost a good chunk of change too. So I mean, to foot the bill on college is not going to be too easy. So those scholarships are going to be real vital at this time especially for these seniors at this time.
Kellen, how's all this going to shake out? Not just for the, let's be honest, handful of kids that will go on to play at the next level, but all of our good teams have a few of them that will go on to play at the junior college level or even higher, like you said. But how do you think the timeline is going to shake out with all this as the season plays out throughout the state of California anyway? January, February, March, that's a lot of times when decisions are being made by kids when they're getting their offers or making their educational decisions. I guess it's all going to happen very fast, huh?
Yeah, so I mean, for the majority of the kids in our area, they're scouted kind of regionally. And luckily on our side, they pushed everything back football-wise now. Mountain West obviously made an announcement that was postponing. Hopefully they'll be able to play at some point in spring. And then same thing with Pac-12. So, the oldest Burton's got to start a senior year at the UCLA and came back after graduating. So, he's kind of wondering what to do. Guys that are trying to go to the draft, or like you talked about, kids that might be able to go into college early out of high school. Will they be able to go and play right away if they're on scholarship, or do they have to wait after that spring season? There's a lot of question marks in the air, and we're trying to figure it out. I've talked to a couple coaches about what their new timelines are going to look like, and I think a lot of them are going to go back to that February sign date, unless it's one of those top end kids that they know is a slam dunk, Division I type kid. I have a feeling a lot of those schools are going to kind of wait a little bit, and which in turn, if San Diego State's waiting for UCLA, then that means UC Davis is waiting for San Diego State, and so on down the line. So I think it just kind of pushes some stuff back, and then, like you said, things are just going to happen real quick in that February, and it's going to be right in the middle of the season. So that's also going to be a little bit different to handle as a player and as a coach. It's that stress alone, trying to figure out where you're going to go to school, not during the football season. It's going to be just an extra layer of
yeah, it's weird that
for those high school kids.
Yeah, it's weird how Rob. Does it surprise you that college football's so screwed up right now that nobody knows what anybody's doing? I mean, these conferences are saying, "Okay, we'll wait," and then the big
That's
three
an
over there are like,
understatement.
"Let's go for it!" Right? Does that surprise you, Rob?
I'm not surprised by anything anymore. I mean, the only thing I was telling my wife, the only thing that gets me through the day is, is to think about the fact that hopefully all this is to protect those weakest among us. My youngest son is in high school and he's missing out on all of his programs and things. And, we're talking about, all the football schedules being delayed, and my business has been, brutally crushed right at the moment. But if I just keep telling myself, if we're saving one person or we're doing whatever, I can put up with that, because otherwise I would just run around screaming, I think.
Yeah.
No,
I'm not
Speaking of
surprised
ramping
at all.
up, speaking of ramping up, Dave, this would be Rob's big point of the season too, pretty much.
well, that's what I was gonna ask you, Rob. Now, how about some of the club vehicles though that some of these kids get into, whether it be baseball wise, softball wise, or do you get some of that, some of those individuals coming in? I mean, does that help keep you afloat? Some of these turning it into club sports.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're actually seeing just this week a pretty big increase in, travel baseball and travel softball, and some of the local youth soccer organizations are going to start having, practices. So yeah, I mean, we've been fortunate. We've been around a long time, and we have a lot of accounts, corporate accounts, and we do a lot for law enforcement. We do quite a bit for the major universities and their clinics, and some of the other things. So that's really kept us alive. So yeah, I mean, talking about sports, though, just this last few days has been a lot of people asking about travel.
Rob, and I want to really reflect on what the core mission statement, I guess, if you will, that it's always been at Al's, and that was, Al himself. That was his core statement, and I'm sure it still sticks with you as well. And that's I wanted to let everybody out there know that, and that's outside of East County, that you've just been customer service, treating each customer like they're the number one that are walking through that door, and that's always how you've been, and making sure that they get the right equipment at the right price, and just the personal service that you give. I received it myself, just for my kid, and I know that I would have gotten that whether it would have been before my dad, or just how you give that personal service. And I'm sure Ramon and Kellen could also vouch for that as well. I think that's ultimately what keeps a business like yours alive, is that in itself.
Hey, we're gonna have plenty of letter winners this year, Rob. Guaranteed.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I appreciate that very much. I mean, that, it's hard. We try to keep that old school feel. When you walk in, you smell dust and leather. I always say it's like, it's like a sporting goods store when we were kids, or I'm older than everybody, but and we want to keep that. But we also want to modernize a little bit too, and offer those things that people need today, and that finding that balance. But yeah, it's all about the customer. I mean, a guy told me once, try to make the customer's day, but I'm going to tell you that's easy, because every customer that walks through our door, they make my day. And we know people by name, and it's just that old school kind of feel. But we want to give it to you with modern service. But we'll get through this. We've been around for 41 years now, and we're going to make it. So we appreciate everybody out there.
Dave, I'm pretty sure that the Al's logo has appeared on this website for its whole existence. I think maybe the first couple months it wasn't, but that's probably because I didn't know what I was doing. Bill and Juan have been telling me to put that ad up there for at least 17 or 18 years. So we've been part of that family too, I guess.
Well, and then we also had, and I'm sure Rob got to see that one. We had some help from our old friend Carl Danielson that moved out to Missouri. He had a voiceover, and we did. And I hope you've seen that one, Rob. He did a voiceover in an old school Al Sports Shop ad, and really went into detail. And we shot it right there at Granite Hills, right there, when he was teaching. Right there in the studio. So it was. If you haven't seen it, we'll definitely have to get a copy to you. But it was spectacular, really. And Ramon, I'm sure you can vouch for that one as well.
I can recite it. I've said it so many times.
But no, absolutely. Now I was hoping to have a fifth person to add to the show tonight, and that's in Coach Scott Longerbone, which is the whole reason I got the hats back there, just so I'm not picking one over the other, even though Granite is my alumni. I got the Steel Canyon over there as well, and it's I guess he had prior arrangements, is what he said. The wife made reservations, and he wanted to enjoy the whole evening without rushing.
You gave a pass, Kellen. Let's hear it. Give me something we can.
Well, both of our wives are named Shannon, and they both run the house. So Shannon Longerbone, made a reservation. Scott will have to be there. I guess for that. Both great ladies. We're both gotten above our average. I don't know.
But
I just want, when it came down to those two games, though, and you guys are so close, did one of you have to suggest it to the other, or were you guys just talking about finding and filling different games? How did that conversation just?
This conversation started back in November, when we went to four league games, 4 teams on the hillside and then 7 in the valley. We knew that pretty much all of North County, all of South Bay were in league games at that point. So we knew, going into scheduling, it was going to be very difficult to find games those weeks. And then once they, scrapped and changed the season, and we both had out of town teams, we knew those weren't going to work out. And then they scrapped week 1. So it was just like, hey, dude, if we can't find any games, let's just play. I know he reached out to a couple other local schools that had openings the same week, and they didn't want to play. So we just said, hey, we'll just play twice. Let's do it. It's always good, always a good game, Division I team, so should be competitive. And,
What do you think? What do you think, Rob? You think you got any ideas, or maybe we can between the two of us we can put something together? A Steel Canyon, Granite Hills special.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, we need a trophy for that, huh? I tell you who I'd name it after.
Well, I don't know if you've seen the Tony Berner
Yes.
Memorial Trophy. Okay, we donated that for that West Hills and El Cap game. So, yeah, we should put together, and we'll donate it. We should put together a really cool trophy that
maybe a Burton, maybe
can fight over once or twice a year.
Especially with these two buddies meeting every night. And, Dave, I'm going to try to do live shows like this right after football. We're going to send the link out to them and take our chances with those two guys hanging out after the game. And hope we don't get in trouble, but we might just do that.
I will tell you, I have no offense, Coach. I've had a little better luck with Coach Cobbs right after the game. If I catch him pretty quickly, I can catch the bone. I can catch him usually as he's pulling out in his vehicle. And if I can get him there, I can get some. I mean, he's definitely a quotable individual, just like Kellen. But it's just I got to catch him, and I got to catch him right away, because once at the establishment, I'll call you in the morning.
Yeah.
So
we need those quotes, Dave. We need that info. But we're gonna go this year it's going to be it's going to be fun. It's going to be awesome. I mean, it's August right now. We are, this is really killing us. I mean, think about how long away it is. I'm sure it's closer than once we get rolling here. Once we start going on the down slope of the spike, which I think is starting right now. One other piece of news, Dave, and maybe if Rob's heard it, I was just researching the schedule, and I should be more caught up on this. I've actually been more busy than normal because of the pandemic. Dave, I think Foothills Christian is playing 11-man football this year. Looking at their schedule, I mean, it's loaded with 11-man teams, so maybe I need to do a little more research on that, but that's interesting too. I don't know if it was because of the pandemic and how the opponents are shaking, or if they had planned to do that, because they'll be coming into the season with the longest winning streak in the county of 17 games.
Well, maybe they saw Beezer on the show too, and maybe they want to possibly get a game in there with Christian High themselves. I mean, if they got a big enough roster, but I think they definitely would still be in the lower division, considering. But I mean, more power to them though to finally come up and join the rest of the county. I mean, that would be fantastic. And that was what it was in bring. Now, how are we going to do the? I mean, could Steel and Granite meet in the playoffs too for a third time?
Yeah, we could. I think they try and avoid round one rematches, but from there on out, we could definitely play a third time. We did.
I think.
And it'd be a third time in about 5 or 6 weeks, so it wouldn't be a whole lot of space between the games. But
yeah, all it takes is probably one win to get to that point. I think it's part of the plan.
Yeah.
If I was a bet man, I'll tell you what, I definitely would take that gamble, because of the games that I've seen in the last 2 years, it's more than possible. And like you mentioned, and for everybody out there, if you haven't seen in the East County, Granite Hills play Steel Canyon in a football game, whether it be at Steel or at Granite, I'll tell you what, you're missing out on one of the games of the year, whether it be regular season or playoff. It's a playoff game every time you guys play, really. Playoff atmosphere, their fans travel well, your fans travel well. I mean, it's pretty much a home game for each. And now that Steel's, I want to add that as well. Now that they're going to have those extra bleachers now, I think that's going to be huge over there in Cougarville.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that was a good game.
Well,
yeah,
I think. I mean, after seeing, I think they got working right away after that Helix and Steel game. I was one of the culprits, actually. You better move your car soon, or you're getting towed. So, but I mean, that game was that was another, one for the books. But I think with the expansion of the bleachers, that's definitely going to be good for every team that plays at Steel Canyon, and for the charter themselves.
Yeah, I'll mention, I believe Cathedral Catholic is going to be playing at Steel Canyon in week 2 of the season. So there's one that'll pack them in.
Well, they're going to have plenty of room now, and they're definitely going to need it for that one. I'll tell you that. But I wouldn't put with the schemes that Scott Longerbone comes up with. Don't be surprised if he pulls a rabbit out of his hat against that good Cathedral team. And Coach, you already know all too well. He's got some stuff up his sleeves.
Yeah, he does. He's always got a wrinkle, especially offensively. Coach Burton's always got some sort of little gadget play that he likes to throw at us. So we joke throughout the week, just kind of go back and forth with each other. And his wife still teaches over at Granite, so we mess with her throughout the week. And it's always a fun time for him and stuff.
Well, you got, you got one of the Granite. What is it? Granite and Grossmont are two of the biggest schools, at least attendance-wise, in the East County, I believe. if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think Helix is the biggest at this point, and then us and Grosslawn are right, like within 50 kids of each other, and then Steele's not far behind. So
Steel's built, yeah, they're building up quick. I mean, and they're only 20 years old, and they did really well for themselves. And I'm sure the football program helped out those Cougars a lot, especially. And lastly, I wanted to just touch on it just briefly. I mean, how are we going to do that too? I mean, we're going to be running into basketball season. I mean, we're smack dab in the middle of towards the end of basketball season.
You kids just gonna have to make a choice this year, Dave, on some sports. I mean, I guess there's a few sports that they've invited kids who could practice for both different sports, might be able to play different sports, Kellen. But some of those major sports probably gonna have to decide, huh?
yeah, honestly, I was pretty frustrated with the decision that they came up with. I think for me as a football coach, it was great for football. They laid it out where nothing's kind of, in the way, at least in front of the season. But, I don't think they had the best interest in for kids in the schedule that they came up with. I would have personally liked to see just 3 seasons and cut them down a little bit shorter. That way kids don't have to make that choice. But, I mean, if you look at the season, it still overlaps about 2-3 weeks with spring sports. So I think the kids that are even dual sport athletes regularly are going to have to choose. I know there's a lot of baseball coaches out there that don't like to see their kids doing other things leading up to baseball season other than play baseball. So we're going to try and come up with a way. Luckily, myself and our AD, who's our baseball coach, work pretty well together. So we'll try and work out a schedule where kids can be able to do both. I know our wrestling program, I used to coach wrestling for a long time. I think it's going to be having a huge impact on them. We get a lot of football guys out, and there's still an overlap there. And then, honestly, as a track coach, I think we're just, especially on the girls' side, having soccer and a couple other sports all at the same time, it's going to be pretty rough on us. Girls basketball, soccer, both are a pretty big draw that we get for kids. So, I mean, it is what it is. I think we just got to get through the year and figure it out and try and figure out those last 2 weeks of our season, 2 to 3 weeks where there's an overlap for spring and the winter. But I know I'm going to do the best I can to let kids be able to do both. And I think, a lot of football coaches will have that approach and just try and help out kids so they don't have to make a choice between one or the other.
Let's hope that's our problems come time, Dave. That'd be great. If we have problems with what sports are going to play, well, that sucks for them in this time, but I think it'll be good for all of us moving forward.
I think that I'm going to be real happy about that. I don't care if we have to juggle basketball and football more than we ever have. As stagnant as we have been, even as journalists, the more the merrier. I'm sure Rob feels the same way. If he's got to get the basketball, soccer, and football gear all at the same time, hey, fantastic. I think we all are on the same page that we welcome being overwhelmed with sports, live sports, I should say.
Yeah, Rob, you're
able to have fans and stuff by then.
Yeah, Rob, your schedule is going to be kind of like the prep schedules, right? But I think that you probably would invite students and parents to start ordering now, especially those essential needs, their jackets and everything, because school year is starting. How are you working that out? And you're open for business, man. Tell us how we shop right now at Al's Sports Shop, and also getting those Letterman's jackets ordered and everything, even though sports is a little bit of a ways away.
Well, yeah, letter jackets are it's my favorite thing that we sell, because you get to meet some really amazing kids and a lot of times the whole family, grandparents, everybody comes to that. We have a special area set up right now for letter jackets where we bring them in on appointment now, and kind of have a big area cordoned off, 2 chairs, some specific jackets that we use for sizers that we clean every day and spray between customers. And so we want to make it as safe as possible, but we also want to have it still be that same experience where you can spend a half an hour and go over the different ways we can decorate the jacket for you. So a lot of the things we do are still similar. I mean, you have to wear a mask to come into the store, and we have to keep you socially distanced. We've got some home plates on the floor, to keep you separated. But, in general, it's still a a parent and a child or a young adult with them, having a good time, picking out a set of catcher's gear or working on that letter jacket. We normally have a really big Christmas rush for letter jackets. I don't know how that's going to play out this year, but our suppliers are all back online, and our production people are still working. So we'll be able to handle it. And like you said, we're just excited about seeing the kids again. We spent 2.5 months closed, and I was still at the store every day, and it was pretty lonely. So now we've got kids coming back in with their parents, all excited about, like you said, just getting back on the field, just thinking about playing, just, trying to get ready to go. So we're all excited about it.
We got, don't forget, Ramon, and Rob won't forget that either, where he's been a pretty big sponsor. I want to just add that last little tidbit of what we couldn't have last year, and that's the Bill Dickens All-Star Classic, for the basketball, and that's huge. One of our bigger draws, and Rob's always been kind to give us some pretty nice looking plaques too, for basketball in particular, and that's usually a big draw as well. So we thank him for that as well as the other services he provides for the community, but for us directly to give out to the great athletes that come out of the East County.
Well, I put it out there. Maybe Rob will go to work on it. Maybe Kellen and Scott can come up with something. We need a trophy for the Granite Hills Steel Canyon game. We need to, but something that, the Hammershaw helmet, that's a cool little thing. I mean, I don't know if it, other than having the word Hammershaw in it, but we need something that really reflects the rivalry of the Eagles and the Cougars. I just think of the big plays that Will Burton made. I know that those were for the Eagles, but, the family's still involved with the Cougar program now, too. But, man, made some big plays, two that I can remember, monster plays against Steel Canyon. And, these are the memories that we're holding on to right now as we wait and wait and wait. But the news was good this week that we started talking about these schedules, Dave, and I'll send you what I got and show you some of these games. I don't think everybody's entered in the stuff yet, so I don't want to say too many of these incredible matchups, but want to thank head coach Kellen Cobbs of the Granite Hills Eagles and Rob Treadwell of Al's Sports Shop. Dave, you're not done. What'd you have to say?
No, I just wanted to, same thing, for when you gave me the news about Steel and Granite playing 2 times, I just about dropped my phone right there. Just knowing that they were going to play twice and within a month of each other. That was fantastic news. I know it goes February 19th and then it goes into March, but at the same time, it is around the corner.
What's the game in between, Kellen?
We're at Grossmont in between that.
It really just goes Steel, Grossmont, Steel, basically.
Yep.
But it's there's a buy in there somewhere, right?
What's that?
Do you have a buy in there too?
No buy.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So we go at the last 5 games. We got Lincoln, Steel, Grossmont, Steel, Felix. So
yes.
We'll be tested before the playoffs come around for sure.
Yeah. Figured out there, it's going to be amazingly strange. It's going to be exciting for sure, especially that first night. Maybe, I don't know, Rob, it might be the most anticipated prep football season ever. It will be, right? The longest anticipated. Dave, you're going to get shows together, I hope, for the next few months. We got something to talk about.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, you gave me the best information I could ever hear. And then, again, being a former Eagle myself, too, that added to it. And then the several months that I had the opportunity to even work on the Steel Canyon campus very closely with a lot of the staff over there, I couldn't ask for a better matchup. And then the games itself, there's just so many great things about it. So, and then Rob, we really appreciate you coming on too. I know we've been talking about it for a while, and I'm glad that we were able to finally get you on and get you some. I know you really don't need it so much, but get you some extra recognition that you're still there and that you're doing well as I know, your health is doing great, and you're looking good, and the store is looking good. So all positives for Al's Sports Shop and Rob Treadwell.
Thank you, Dave.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, like we said, get out there now. Why wait? All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you, Dave, so much. We'll catch up with you again. And for Rob and Kellen and Dave, I'm Ramon Scott. Thanks for joining us.